give continuation to the book Between Heaven and Earth. We start chapter 13, mental analysis, with just a very quick recap. It will be a mental analysis of Leonardo, that in the very last chapter, last paragraph of the last chapter, Clarence has said that in order to assist the deranged man with Leonardo, and to be able to, they would have to analyze his mind, and to do that, they would need the participation of some incarnated spirits. And in order to use incarnated spirits in general, it's done at night when the incarnated spirit would be at rest, is sleeping. So it's easy to disengage the perispirit and spirit from the physical body at rest, so they can participate in experiences in the spiritual world. So in chapter 13 and 14, they should be able to finish today. It happens at night. It happens when Antonina is at sleep and she is able to disengage from her physical body partially, okay, always partially, and interact with discarnate spirits at a very palpable manner, so to say. This chapter, and we just did last Thursday, chapter part 4 of the Spirit's book, that is Futures and Future Joys and Sorrow. And we dealt specifically with the part that deals with atonement and repair. This chapter we're going to read here is nothing more than the pure application of everything that we read in those questions. It starts at question 9093, and all the questions over there deals specifically with we are going to see here atonement and repair. Very palpable. It's really the application. Like when you study chemistry, first you do the theory and then you go to the lab and do the experiments. It's almost like we did that on Thursday in the Spirit of the Spirit book. We went through all those questions and we dealt with atonement and repair. And it's as if today we come to the lab, although we are not doing the experiences, we are witnessing or watching the experience taking place. It's really amazing how things fall into place in this scenario. And a quick repair over here, or remind over here, who is Leonardo? Leonardo is what in Antonina's grandfather, discarnate. Leonardo is being somewhat stuck in that house, because it's the only place where he finds some attention, some care, somehow in that house. And today we're going to find out why. Leonardo has also discarnated about 20 years ago, at the time of this event is happening, of course. He is responsible to have poisoned a military man. He was also a military man, out of jealousy, because that military man, his name was José Esteves, had an affair with a woman named Lola, and Lola was promised to marriage to Leonardo. I'm not sure if they were fiancés or not, but they were in a relationship with a plan to live their life together. And Leonardo caught Lola and Esteves in an affair, and out of jealousy, he poisoned that man. Later on, he was not, he was not found guilty of the crime by our law because they were in a state of war with Paraguay, and the Brazilian government chose to just put it aside and deal with the war and not get bothered with that one event. So eventually, Leonardo was continued relationship with Lola for a short time, and then he just got tired of her and just abandoned her as well. Later on, Leonardo went on to build a family, had many children, was able to build fortune, material possessions, but continues being tormented by guilty by what he had caused, the murder that he had done to Esteves, become very ill and eventually discarnate, and since his discarnation is being tormented by guilty. Antonina, in this present incarnation, is a granddaughter of Leonardo. And from this point on, we can read on chapter 13 and read all this entanglement of the relationships.
Okay. Chapter 13, a mental analysis. The clock on the wall showed that it was 12:45 a.m. when we entered Antonina's humble home. Everyone was asleep, everything peaceful. Old Leonardo was huddled in a corner, thinking and thinking. We made ourselves visible to him. When he saw us, he stood up and shouted, "Please help me for God's sake. I'm a prisoner here, a prisoner." Clarenzo kindly invited him to make himself comfortable in a chair and asked him to join him in prayer. Leonardo said that he had forgotten the old formulated prayers, thinking that only such prayers would be of any use. However, with the obvious intent of settling him down, Lorenzo said a moving prayer to divine providence, asking for protection and security for the one who was so lost and unhappy. Touched by that petition, which also renewed our own inner dispositions, we saw that Antonina's grandfather had calmed down and seemed more resigned. After the prayer, Clarenzo began applying magnetic energies to his cerebral area. The patient seemed to become even more despondent. His head hung down on his chest, limp and drowsy. Giving us a meaningful look, the minister said, "The appropriately dynamized energy current of these magnetic passes will draw him out of the anesthetizing shadowland of amnesia. Then we will be able to more safely probe what's going on inside of him. With our help, his memory will go back in time and will inform us about the cause that is binding him to his granddaughter. It will also bring to light any possible connections that might give us the key to what will help him. But can such a retrocession happen spontaneously?" asked Hilario. I'll stop here. Okay.
Yeah, thanks. So as I told, the clock was showing that it's nighttime, 12:45 a.m. Because if you're going to call for the assistance or for the participation in experience of incarnated ones, you want to do it when the physical body is at rest. So the spirit with the perispirit can partially disconnect and go back into the spiritual world and have a very palpable experience. And by very palpable, I mean that we will interact with the discarnate spirits just as we incarnate interact with incarnated spirits here right now. One-to-one hearing, sensing that presence. And of course, everything augmented, as we spoke also last week, because free from the physical body, all our senses are extremely augmented. We are a lot more sensitive in all senses. And we feel all the experience much, much deeper when we don't have this physical body that act as a buffer in many situations. Just a minute here. The issue of prayer, the Leonard could not formulate the old prayers that he have learned. And that is a problem with many religious groups that dictates that in order to pray, we have to regurgitate words as it was thought by us. So you need to say our Lady prayers, or you say our Father's prayer just as it was taught, word by word, comma by comma. Otherwise, it does not have an effect. So what happens when our memory fails us? What happened when in the middle of the memorized prayer, you lose a word and you get yourself all tangled up in negative thoughts because now you don't remember that prayer anymore. Personally, I think it's a problem because our memory can fail us. And the understanding of a prayer being nothing more than energy that allow us to connect with the divinity need not to be memorized. It can. There's nothing wrong with saying whatever prayer that you have learned in your childhood and you have a connection with that prayer. You have a connection with, say, a saint of the Catholic Church to whom you have some kind of connection. And when you like to pray, you like to think of that saint and say the prayers that is prayed for that specific saint. There is nothing wrong with that. Just keep in mind that it's not the word itself, it's the energy that connects us to the divinity. And if you don't remember the words, that's not a problem. You just elevate yourself. Go into your dark room in silence, as Jesus suggests to us. Be completely naked, as off, free of all the material ties, and you just open yourself to God, to the divinity, to a saint, to Orisha, whatever you pray to. But as long as the intention is noble, the thoughts are noble, you'll be connected with enlightened spirits. And if it's not, then you can personally even call it a prayer. Go with more of a negative thought than anything else. But if it's of noble, elevated, morally valued thoughts, then you connect without words because it's all by thought. Now, we find very hard to have thoughts without words because we associated all our thoughts to some kind of words, and that's fine. But in reality, thoughts does not carry any words with it. We have this necessity, unfortunately, still to have that association, which fine. But don't think that you have to memorize words in order to pray. On the contrary, you just have to, again, be naked in front of God, be open to God, to extend, to exchange that goodness. And then after the prayer, everybody is, feels the energy in that prayer. and Leonardo becomes more in tune with what's happening at that moment. The Clarence gives him magnetic passes, providing him with energies. And again, remember the perispirit responds to energy. The perispirit is very sensitive to vibration, which are passes that we apply in our spiritual center. And remember also that the memories belongs to the spirit, right? Now, the spirit, just like we now, needs a physical body in order to do work to express ourselves. The spirit in the spiritual world use the spiritual body, the perispirit. So although the memories belongs to the spirit, there are associations. I'm not going to say organs. I don't like the organs for perispirit, but it's parts of the perispirit that deals with memories, that is associated with memories. I like to believe that because we don't have better words, and then we use the cerebral part. So perhaps the associated part of the brain of the perispirit that associate with memories, and Clarence apply passes exactly at that site. Comments, questions? All right, you continue.
Yes. But can such a retroception happen spontaneously? Asked Hilario, perplexed. Yes, of course. The memory may be compared to a sensitive plate, which, when struck by light, stores forever the images collected by the spirit during the course of its innumerable learning experiences. Each one of our soul's particular lifetimes is an added experience that is preserved in the prodigious archive of images, which, even though superposed on one another, never become jumbled up. During endeavors of assistance like this one, we need to search the mental archives in order to produce certain types of vibrations, not only to attract the presence of spirits that are connected to this suffering brother, but also to unveil the hidden fibers of his mind and keep him bound to his afflictions and unseen wounds. So that means, the minister cut in to complete Hilario's thought, the mind, just like any other part of the body, can and must endure interventions in order to become rebalanced. Someday, human science will develop psychic surgery, just as today it is developing its surgical techniques with the needs of the physical body and mind. In the grand future, doctors will unravel a mental labyrinth with the same ease with which they can now remove an inflamed appendix.
Thanks.
Okay.
So you let it come with a very good question. Can such a retrocession happen spontaneously as we are perplexed? And this in relationship to the magnetic passes that Clarence gave to Leonardo, that was able to retrieve memories of Leonardo at this time discarnate, as if you could open a file. Let's go back and retrieve these informations, right? We do that today with the so-called regression therapy. That is a field of psychology, not necessarily of spiritism, in which individuals are able to go back and incarnate spirit, go back into previous reincarnations as a form of therapy for very serious problems that the only solution is to go back into previous reincarnation and see the cause of the problem, the present problem, and from that point on work on its recovery, because you need to know the cause in order to treat the disease. When it's properly done, this regression is done only specifically to that part in time of that spirit, to that part in that reincarnation in the past, where you found the cause of the present problems and you work on it. It's not just going back in time. It's a therapy. It's going back to a specific file, so to say, in our memory to deal with the problem. And Clarence explained here that as we have had many previous reincarnation, many experiences, everything is recorded and saved in whatever we call it, right? And it's not only jumbled up all over the place, it's compartmentalized, so to say, right? As if you look at the trunk of an old tree and you see the layers that symbolizes years, right? You can count how old the tree is by looking at the tree trunk. If you do a cross-section cut of it and you see those layers, and you're able to see how old that tree is just by looking at each layer. As the tree grows, as the trunk enlarges, it is detected in that tree trunk how many years. By each year you have its own layer. So if you could do a cross section of us, the spirit, you'd have those layers of the many experiences that you have had. And again, it's not just jumbled up, it's compartmentalized, it's separated, and it can be retrieved in a specific area, a specific time in our existence. And again, I have to reinforce with the intention of a therapy, not as a form of entertainment, not figure out who I was in the past, not figure out what's my relationship with someone unless there is a need for it. It's a very serious thing, and only very well capable professionals can deal with this thing. Again, it does not belong to spiritism. It's not to be practiced in a spiritist center. It does belong to the field of psychology. And that's exactly what Clarence is explaining to Hilario. The idea of this psychic surgery not a big fan of the terminology. Personally, don't like it. But I can imagine the future, you being able to work in a sense that what he's calling here psychic energy is an ability to expose a problem but not the ability to remove that problem or to make a change. I mean, it's in the past, it's already there, it already happened. But it can be exposed so you can recognize where the problem lies and change the present, not the future. So and just make sure that the idea of perform a surgery as today you can remove an appendix, that's not what we are talking about here. What's there, it's there, going to stay there. You're not going to remove that period in time of our existence here as an eternal spirit, but we're going to use the experience of revisiting that moment in life to be able to make corrections in the present to resolve a problem. Okay, so I just want to make sure that you do not remove the past as you remove an appendix. We go back and look at the past and use that experience to make corrections, again, repair, and to resolve a problem. Comments, questions? All right, let's move on.
Okay. Hilario's eyes opened wide in happy amazement, and he exclaimed, almost shouting, "Ah, Freud, you saw the truth. You were right." Lorenzo gave him a fatherly look and stated, "Freud glimpsed the truth, but any truth without love is like a barren, cold light. Knowing and interpreting isn't enough. Sublimating and serving is crucial. The great scientists observed aspects of our spiritual struggle on the evolutionary pathway and categorized the problems of the soul that is still incarcerated in the webs of the lower circles of life. He pointed out the presence of people's dolorous wounds, but he did not offer them an effective curative balm. He did a lot, but not enough. In order to cleanse the disharmonies of the mind, physicians in the future will have to use the health-giving remedy of understanding and love found in their own hearts. Without the hand that helps, the erudite word dies in the air. The minister said no more, giving us to understand that the moment was not appropriate for philosophical digressions.
Thanks. I'm not going to expand here on Freud. First of all, I don't know much of the teachings, the work of Freud. I would be able to do even if I wanted to. So, but what Clarence is telling here is that Freud, with his theories, with his works, with his studies, with his research, he was able to expose the wound that is causing the pain. The pain is there. We know that we have the pain, but we don't know how, why. And Freud was able to expose the cause of the pain, was able to expose the wound, but he had no remedy. They had no way of alleviating that pain. It may even exacerbate the pain because now you see the wound, but you don't know what to do with it. And according to a clear answer here, the solution is love. In the future, instead of here, in the future, we'll have to use the health-giving remedy of understanding, right, and love found in our hearts. The remedy, the solution, love found in our hearts. So basically what Freud taken the first step, it teaches us how to find the wound, but just find the wound does not alleviate the pain or resolves the problem. Love is indeed the balsam that will heal that wound and alleviates our pain. Comments? All right, let's keep going.
He caressed the old man's head for a few instants and then gently called to him, "Leonardo, remember, go back to Paraguay where you acquired the remorse that afflicts your heart today. Pain is almost always buried guilt. Let's go back to the starting point of your suffering. Remember, remember. Before our describable amazement, the old man woke up with a confused look in his eyes. He lifted his head, but his face had changed considerably. It still retained its fundamental traits, but had become younger. Noticing the surprised transfiguration, Hilario asked, "Wow, what sort of magical power is this?" Clemenzo looked at him calmly and explained, "Let's not forget that this is the spirit body, which is exceedingly vibratory. The soul's body can change itself profoundly, according to the type of emotion that flows from deep within it. This is nothing new, however. The physical body's face can change due to joy or suffering, affinity or aversion. On our plane, such transformations are quicker, and they exteriorize inner aspects of the person easily and surely because of the molecules of the perispirit vibrate at a higher speed and more intensely than the molecules of the physical body. As the animic center, the conscience thus expresses itself in subtle matter with more advanced plastic capabilities.
Nice. Okay, so when the pastors from Clarence worked and they are ordered to retrieve a period in the past in the life of Leonardo assimilates that period in time, he transforms its shape, its morphology, the appearance of its perispirit, which is called transfiguration. And Clarence re-explains, as we know very well, that the perispirit is extremely malleable and it will conform to the mind, basically. The perispirit will change its morphology in accordance to the state of the mind. Clarence uses an expression, an example, that even as incarnated spirit, our not as deep, of course, as the perispirit, but we change the aspect, especially in our faces. If you can read faces, you can know pretty much what the person is one of the trainings that actors and actors do, is exactly work on the facial expressions, right? By the facial expression, you can tell someone is happy, angry, unhappy. The individual who cannot speak in a hospital, they will present faces with facial expressions, pain, content, and you present to those pictures to the patient unable to speak, and ask the patient to point how he or she is feeling, because we recognize in those facial expressions an emotional state, a state of pain, a state of anger, a state of happiness. So even in the physical body with this dense structure, we can do that. Can imagine the perispirit, they're extremely malleable. That is, again, as Clarence says, a vibratory organ. We can modify ourselves very easily. When devout Peter Franco receives the spirit of Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, you can definitely see a change on his face. Of course, not as deep as the perispirit, but even on his face, you can see a change and a very clear change on his voice. So this happens even as incarnate, and you have very easily as in the perispirit, because again, it's not a dense organ and can easily change its morphology, its shape in accordance to the mind. And that's exactly what happened with Hilario. Remember that it happened when he was rather young. I think it was 30, 31 years old. And he sees himself then as someone at that age, and his appearance become extremely jovial in comparison to his present state. And that caused immense fascination to Hilario, who I guess had not seen that before. Okay, continue. Or any questions, okay? Any questions, please just stop me.
Okay, yes. Clarenzo glanced around the room and added, let's not neglect what we are supposed to be doing. In the meantime, Leonardo had cheered up. He seemed animated by a strange energy. Although his body was still dark and pasty, he was more erect, suddenly more vigorous and mobile. He exclaimed,
Sorry.
Lola, are you here? I can feel you nearby. Where are you hiding? Listen to me. Listen. We couldn't believe it when we saw Antonina leave her room in the spirit body that we had seen the day before. Extremely surprised, she came to us and saw her transfigured grandfather. It was as if she had been touched by some mysterious influence. Her face had suddenly changed and had also become younger. She was truly more beautiful, but less serene and less spiritualized. For our maximum benefit, the minister said in a low voice, our sister will need only light magnetic assistance in order to remember. The abnormal emotions of the reunion will be enough for her to fall into vibratory situation of the past, because she has not yet fully settled her accounts with the law. In awe, Antonina got down on her knees in front of the old man who had become young again due to Clarenzo's passes and cried, Leonardo. However, radiant unspeakable hate and affliction in his look, he shouted, finally. And he broke. Okay.
Okay. We got short readings because I want to make sure that I don't miss anything.
Okay.
So upon retrieving himself in time and going back to the time when he committed the crime that he committed that torments him in the present, he found himself young, and he was able to sense somehow again in the spiritual body, free from the physical body. Our senses is extremely more sensitive, and he perceives the presence of Lola, and he calls for Lola, and and Antonina comes up out of the room. So now we understand here now that Antonina, that is the grandmother of Leonardo, is also Lola in previous incarnation. She played the role of Lola, and now she's playing the role of Antonina. And if you don't remember, Lola is the woman that Leonardo was in love with. Lola is the woman that Leonardo found out that she was having an affair with another military man. And Leonardo poisoned that military man. His name was Esteves. We're going to meet him soon. And that's it. Let's go. Where did it stop? Okay. Finally.
Yes, okay. And he broke into convulsive weeping. We were stunned, Clarenzo explained. See, Antonina is Lola Iborudi, reincarnate. Leonardo is connected to her by ties of immense love. Both are involved in enormous struggles on the infinite canvas of time. The responsible woman of yesterday is the loving and worthy mother of today as she seeks her own regeneration. After having deserted her husband in the past, she was induced to marry an animalized man, whom she was also connected to by ties from the past, and who, now realizing who she was in this lifetime, deserted her in turn. Nonetheless, she received former partners in destiny as her children, whom she is leading to the good. Contraposition to her criminal acts in the past, today she's going through afflictive problem in order to live.
Okay. So Antonina, being the Lola of the past in a new reincarnation, is what I was talking about, the application of the atonement that we study in the Spirit's book. She returned to a new reincarnation, and now she is applying what she had decided, that she had understood while in the spiritual world, and it means to repair. She has received children to whom she has some association with the past, and she is actually doing her job of repair, leading them to a good life, and she herself is living a morally proper life. If in the past she abandoned her husband and children, family to enjoy life, so to say, when she got involved with Leonardo, and then got involved with Esteves, and then went back to Leonardo for some time, she made that mistake. She's coming back and making reparations now with this incarnation. And we're going to find out here a little bit more about her past. Okay.
Okay. Irrepressible sympathy inclined us toward that woman enduring such harsh trials. The lesson that life was offering us was truly sublime. Lorenzo's voice was clear and firm. Let's get to work. The time is right. And understanding.
Okay. So we start the next chapter now that we're going to get into more of a therapy, so to say, that Clarence, we're going to lead those two individuals to work their issues and try to create reparation. He says over here that Leonardo is connected to her by ties of immense love. And as we always say, love is just as eternal as we are. And love will always create the connections of those to whom we have created that that relationship with. Yeah, any questions and comments on this chapter?
I do have a question. I'm sorry, this is my first meeting studying the book, but I was just thinking, what's the relationship between this kind of work to the work that we do in mediumship meetings? Maybe that's the initial, a lot of those meetings are the initial contact that, the rescue work. And then as they get deeper into like understanding their issues and what caused and the state they're in, they go into some sort of a more in-depth work here. Is that a correct analysis?
Yes, that's a very proper analysis. In our mediumship meetings, we receive suffering spirits with suffering like this one here, like the one that Antonine is going right now, the one that Leonardo is going right now, understanding that in a mediumship meeting, we receive mostly discarnate spirits, but we had and we can receive incarnated spirits that when their body is at rest, in state of sleep, it can go and participate in the mediumship meetings and receive assistance as well. But most of you have discarnate spirits.
Okay, thank you.
And our job will be primarily of the initiation of a process, because they now are ready to initiate that process that those individuals are going through right now. So very often those spirits will stay there in the house, continue the treatment. They may come back and forth, come back, especially if they are incarnate, they cannot stay there, right? But then they may return to continue the treatment. But yeah, our job there is just to open a window of opportunity so the discarnate spirits can assist that spirit in need. Because very often the spirit is so entangled in materiality, is so with a mono idea that it cannot perceive that the help is there for them, that they cannot shift their mind outside of what's consumed themselves. But when they have what we call the anemic shock, when they are in contact with dense matter, when they through of the medium, of course, it can interact with another incarnate, in the case of the one who is speaking to the spirit, through the medium, of course. And that opens the window of opportunity for the real workers to take over and continue to assist that spirit. Does it answer your question?
Yes, makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right.
Chapter 14, an understanding. A change Antonina rubbed her eyes. If she didn't want to believe what she was seeing, but resigning herself to the evidence, she continued, "Have mercy on me, have mercy." "Lola, where did you come from?" asked Leonardo. "Please don't make me remember." "Don't make you remember?" "Condemned to the torment of expiation. Who could possibly forget? Guilt is a fire that consumes us from the inside out. Don't drag me back to the past. To me, it's as if time was the same. Hell doesn't keep different hours. Pain paralyzes life within us. We have to forget. Never. Remorse is an unseen monster that feeds the fires of guilt. Our conscience never sleeps. Don't break my heart, but isn't mine broken? Their dialogue continued, and Antonina, on her knees, exploiting in an anguishing fit of tears, begged even more forcefully, "Please don't reopen my badly healed wounds. Don't rob the debtor of her chance to pay." "For you," shouted Leonardo, "I got entangled in crime. I loved you and lost myself. Your eyes were filled with disguised betrayal. Oh, Lola, Lola, why? Smitten with this dolorous question, the poor woman begged, "Leonardo, forgive me. I suffered like crazy. Yes, you were mad, but the grief that assailed me was even more woeful, even more bitter. Do you know what happens to a degraded woman amidst repentance and affliction? Have you ever thought about the suffering of a woman's heart that has been relegated to poverty and abandonment? Have you ever thought about the disillusionment and hunger of a scorned and sick prostitute? Do you understand the suffering of someone waiting for death, buried beneath sarcasm and amidst thirst and sweat? Well, I experienced all of that. I killed for you," stammered the wretch, filled with compassion. "But I did worse than that. I killed my own soul. I was a wife who traded the altar of the home for the deceitful stage of easy pleasure. I was a mother who defiled the mandate that God had given me, withering all the flowers of my happiness. But you were able to get back on your feet, whereas I wasn't. In short, you were happy."
Thanks.
Okay.
So here when again this start the process of really therapy of recovery of these two spirits, one incarnate, one discarnate. They are opening the wound, which Freud was able to do. Now they're going to treat. They were able to retrieve the past, see what is the cause of the problems, the present problems, but they don't stop there like Freud. They're going to move on and trying to resolve the problems. And then let them go through this dialogue as a reinforcement to remember everything that happened over there. We need to remember here that Leonard suffers continuously in the present. He has no break. He is continuously being bombarded by his guilty, by the feeling the presence of the one that he killed. He says guilt is a fire that consumes us from the inside out. Because again, as discarnate, and you go back to the Spirit's book, and I suggest anyone who did not participate in the study read that part, Atonement and Repair, starting question 993. And if you do it, it'll be exactly what we are talking about here. While discarnate without a physical body, not having the need to take care of this physical body, to support this physical body, to pay rent, to feed, to eat, and everything else associated with matter, we pay a lot more attention to ourselves and what is inside of us. And if we carry guilty, then we pay a lot of attention to our guilty and can't escape from it. During incarnation, the physical body serves as a buffer. Again, you have to take care of the physical body, you have to take care of the necessities of a physical existence, and that functions as a buffer. And only the physical body itself functions as minimizing the time that we spend dealing with our guilty. One of the reasons the spirits ask for incarnation is like, I need a break from all this torture that I have 24/7, knowing that when I go to physical body, you're not gonna be free from the problem, but you're gonna take somewhat of a break from the problem. And Antonina had already initiates her reincarnation, had already initiates the reparation. She's already working on it very successfully from what we hear, right? She's doing the work. What Leonardo is just suffering from guilty. He gets no break. Antonina now recognizes herself as Lola, while free from the physical body, also has that torment. And especially now that she sees Leonardo, recognizes Leonardo as the one that she really betrayed, she revisits her own past and sees that she not only betrayed him, but she was really immoral in a sense, that abandoned her family and previous husband and children, seeking to enjoy enjoyment or the illusion of happiness that very often brings about sorrows in the future. And she tells him, I made a mistake. I left my family, enjoy life. I got associated with you. I betrayed you. But then again, you abandoned me. You left me behind. And do you know the difficulties of a woman being abandoned with nothing in life and have to surrender to prostitution and then with sickness and the difficulties that we go through? I did suffer tremendously. And then they go in a back and forth of who suffered more here, right? As if they are betting on who is suffering more. Yeah, but I killed for you, and go back and forth on this. on this remembrance of the past, so they can take that point on and start the process of rehabilitation. That, by the way, Antonina has already started in that reincarnation.
Yeah. Okay, there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Happy? Cried Antonina, half desperate. You accuse me of being unfaithful when, like all the others, you got tired of me and went looking for other adventures. I was all alone, sick, as good as dead. In vain did I try to drown in pleasure the dreadful sensation of the abyss into which I have fallen, because when disenchantment and sickness took me to the edge of life, I was awakened by my conscience, accusing me mercilessly. Death found me in the ditch of misery, like a garbage truck cleaning trash out of the gutter. Can you grasp the full extent of my suffering? For many years, I wandered around in affliction, like a bird without a nest, finding refuge in the thorn bush of pain that had grown within me. I begged for protection among those who had been my friends when I was younger, but no one remembered me. I could not reap favors where I had sown none, until one day, Antonina wiped her pale forehead as if she were revoking all memories strongly entrenched in her unconscious mind. Her look had taken on the nervous expression of feverish patience that had gone mad. A few moments later, her face displayed the surprise of someone bathed in a flash of light. Seeming to have found the image she had anxiously been looking for, she continued, until one day I felt like you were calling to me with thoughts of love and peace. You were recalling a few commendable traits of our life together, the parties we spoused for wounded combatants, pulling rare happy memories from our past. Your divagations felt over me like a refreshing balm. Relieved, I cried myself to sleep in your home next to the family that you had the fortune of building.
Thanks. So here Antonina continued telling him how much he did suffer after he left her, that she's guilty of whatever she was responsible, the words that you like better, right? She was responsible for what she had committed to herself and to others. She accepts, she understands that. But that he also carries responsibility for abandoning her like that and let her suffer the humiliations to the point that she needs to give into prostitution. And after age and sickness take over her, then prostitution is not only no more a reliable source of income, and she causing poverty and sickness. And at that point, she starts to better understand the mistake that she had committed, and they still incarnate. She starts to repent, and then we say we can always start to repent at any time. She started to repent actually in the previous reincarnation until death got to her. And in the spiritual world, she kept looks for those that she considered to be friends, looking for some kind of help whatsoever, but they would not even recognize her. Until one time, in all of her suffering, she had a sense that Leonardo was calling her. And having loving remembrance of her. And again, I mean, remember they are attached by immense love, and love has that perpetual connection, that tie that brings us together. When Leonardo had those thoughts, already reincarnated, right? She senses that. It's not saying clear over here, but we're going to see ahead. I believe that is the moment when she starts to prepare herself for a reincarnation, that she will be taken in that household where Leonardo would be her grandfather. Okay, continue.
Yes. Antonina stopped as if she couldn't remember anymore. It was clear she had run up against insurmountable inner barriers. She seemed okay.
That's what lets me believe that perhaps is the period when he was getting ready for reincarnation. Because when you get in the spiritual world, getting ready for reincarnation, we start that process of amnesia of the past, and we can no longer remember things. So it seems to me that here she was getting ready for reincarnation. But again, that's my observation. It doesn't say clearly there, and one may disagree with that.
Okay. She seemed tormented by the pneumatic incapacity that had suddenly assailed her. However, Clarenzo caressed her head, magnetically helping her recover her energies. I don't know how, cried Leonardo. I don't know how. Ever since my mind has been filled by him, I haven't been able to coordinate my thoughts. Yes, of course, I'm guilty. You're right. You could have received my help. I shouldn't have thought of you as being just a woman. Calmer now, Antonina begged sadly. Now that you know what I went through, forgive me. I have no other desire than to be renewed. I have suffered so much. I've had to learn the hard way. I ask for the protection of divine goodness for all those who have not understood me, and I sincerely want to forget others' offenses against me, just as I hope others will forget my offenses against them. Don't drag me back into the past. Have mercy on me. We were startled to see that Leonardo and Antonina, under Clarenzo's paternal control, were held in the vibratory position into which they had suddenly fallen. Why didn't they remember they were related by family bonds? Perceiving our question, Clarenzo explained.
Thanks.
Okay.
So here, it's almost as if Lola has a jump into Antonina's now, and she's telling him, I have suffered, I have done everything, I recognize my mistakes, and I am ready. I'm asking for forgiveness. I want to leave the past behind and move on, which is the proper attitude of a spirit, right? Let me work on what I have to work. I don't want to be stuck in the past, right? And Leonard seems to understand it and say, yeah, I understand that I also am guilty to have you caused you pain. I should not have just abandoned and just treat you as a woman, but as an individual, right? And which states to me that Antonina is in the right path, and Leonard is still completely buried in his guilt and his past, not able to move on. Antonina had moved on and now has had the opportunity to ask for forgiveness. I think that is where Antonina finds her therapy, finds what she needs to do. She had the opportunity to face Leonardo and ask for forgiveness for what she has done. And then we get more, from now on, getting more stuck with Leonardo's issues. But then the very good question here also is, why didn't they remember that they were related by family bonds? Perceiving a question, Clarence explained. Why they don't recognize now that Antonina is in reality Clarencio's, Leonardo's granddaughter. Okay.
Okay. We were startled to see that Leonardo and Antonina, under Clarenzo's parental control, were held in the libatorial position into which they had suddenly fallen. Why didn't they remember they were related by family bonds? Perceiving our question, Clarenzo explained, both are stuck in a certain moment of the past, in an encounter elicited by magnetic influence. When such resources are utilized by our plane in the health-giving treatment of the diseases of the soul, certain memory centers are reactivated while others are numbed. The sensations of the present give way to the sensations of the past for the effect of readjustment in the future. The phenomenon is only temporary, however. Shortly there will return to normal consciousness, made better for the good struggle.
Thanks. So right now, both Leonardo and Antonina are stuck in the past, when Antonina was Lola. And the question is, but aren't they more than that? Aren't they also grandfather and granddaughter? Why don't they recognize their blood tie affiliation at this moment? And Clarence explains, we have to separate things. Everything is compartmentalized for a reason. We don't want to jumble everything together because you'll not be able to resolve the issue. So right now, through the vibratory energies, they retrieve that file, so to say, in their memory. They work on that and only on that. Now, of course, it's temporary. It's only for that time being. And again, it's only specifically for that specific problem for that time. They're not going to be searching other areas of the past or the existence. No, it's at that specific moment they're dealing with a specific time with a specific problem. They concentrate on that and they do not mix things up. But eventually they return to their normal life. They recognize who they are. Leonardo knows that Antonina is his granddaughter, but he doesn't know, outside of being that trance, that Antonina is also Lola, because it would complicate things even more. Continue.
Okay. His explanation could not have been more satisfactory or simpler. The minister continued assisting Antonina, controlling how far back she could go. As if his initial impetus of desperation had cooled, Leonardo answered her appeals. Now he was looking at her almost pitilessly, but rather than harboring any positive sentiments of a higher order, he sent forth a new wave of anger from within, turning his face red. Clenching his fist, he shouted insanely, "Oh yes, I understand you. You really were unhappy. Why do I carry his ghost around with me? Has he turned himself into some sort of intangible demon to destroy my life? Are we hooked to each other in hell without realizing it? Am I living inside of him while he is living inside of me? Why aren't I allowed true repose? If I try to sleep, he wakes me up. If I try to forget about him, he grows even larger in my thoughts." Crazed, Pierre raised his clenched fist, took a few steps, and shouted.
Okay. So it's over here that Antonina got what she needed, that Leonardo is able to understand that she suffered. He's no longer carrying any hate, any ill sentiments towards her, but his main issue, his greatest issue, is him. Who is him? Him is Tevis, right? Why is this guy lives inside of me and outside of me? Why can't I get a break on this individual? Right. We see here this steps taking, Clarence deals with Antonina first. That's the easy one. That's dealt with, and that's this one because Antonina had the spirit that now is Antonina had already moved on. She's already had started her atonement, her process of reparation. She's asking for forgiveness. She wants to move on. Leonardo understands that, but now he's going to go to the bigger fish, and that is Steves, that he said he lives inside of me and outside of me and does not give me a break. He's always bombarding me with heavy energies.
Okay. Estevez, man or devil, wherever you are, inside or outside of me, show yourself. I'm ready for you. Let's settle our differences. Victim or tormentor, show yourself. May my thoughts find you and bring you here. May the forces of our destiny finally bring us together, face to face. A few moments passed when we were startled by the entrance of a new character into the room. It was a man about 35 years old, also outside his physical vessel. He cast a haggard look around the room, giving us the impression that he couldn't see us, out of breath and perturbed as if he had come there against his will. He was stunned and troubled as he recognized Leonardo and Antonina. Lorenzo informed us.
Thanks. So again, we're starting the second part of Leonardo's treatment, and Antonina is taken care of. Now he puts all his energy calling for the one who torments man. Steves, man or devil, whatever you are, let's get together. Let's resolve this issue once and for all. And by calling it, and Clarence will explain it, this appearing 35 years old man shows up when it says outside of his physical vessel. It tells us that Steves is now reincarnate, and he is at about 35 years old. He is there when his physical body is sleeping, and he goes as a spirit to this attending to the calling of Leonard. And Clarence will explain it to us now.
Okay. Because of Leonardo's evocation, Estevez, partially liberated by sleep, has answered the challenge. Nighttime repose favors such encounters because the magnetic attraction is stronger when the physical body needs to recover. We noticed that the three protagonists were suddenly hypnotized by dark, desperate vibrations. Leonardo, however, jumped back and shouted, "Now, yes, now, you have come. I can see you outside my head. I can see you as you really are. Let's settle our score. Tear me away from among the living, or I'll do it to you." "Mercy, mercy," begged Antonina. Paez, however, didn't seem to hear her, as Estevez eyed him with obvious disgust. Half terrified and on his guard, assailed by his own memories, Estevez answered aggressively.
Just to remind that when it says Pires is Leonardo, right? It's Leonardo's last name, Leonardo Pires, and that Andre Luiz used interchangeably Leonardo and Pires for Pires sometimes. Okay, so Esteves being called with a strong magnetic attractions, as people over here, and again, magnetic has nothing to do with metal, right? It's just an expression used. When the physical body is at rest and the spirit is free to interact more with the spiritual world, you will feel, you sense that calling, decide to attend to us, or was brought to that room. And there you see that Antonina has really changed, because she asks for mercy, which declares that she is looking for peace, but now it's between the two of them, right? Pires or Leonardo, however, didn't seem to hear her. Forget about mercy. As Esteves eyed him with obvious disgust, which tells that the two of them are still ready to bang heads. And it's time for Steves to have his saying.
Okay. I know who you are, and I hate you. Murderer, murderer. There is no doubt that they would have gone at each other like animals if Clarenzo hadn't interfered to quickly immobilize them. At his touch, Estevez saw us. Startled, he settled down. Clarenzo entrusted him to our care. Then he addressed Leonardo in a firm voice. My friend, wipe out the crime from your mind. You are tired, sick. You're about to receive the treatment you need. In a flash, he left and returned with two friends from our plane. They took the semi-conscious Leonardo to a sanctuary of readjustment, where he would receive our assistance later on. Next, Clarenzo settled Estevez into a chair and told him to wait right there. Frightened, our new friend obeyed automatically. Then we escorted Antonina back to her bedroom. We thought that if the poor woman had been so delighted the night before, tonight, she would look downhearted, like a rag cloak of suffering. We had a hard time recomposing her mind and reconnecting her to her almost inert body. She was immensely distraught. She received our special attention for more than 2 hours. Only after considerable effort by Clarenzo did she manage to recover. She woke up exhausted and disoriented. Somewhat relieved, she felt free of a strange nightmare. Even so, unable to explain why, she continued weeping, tormented and apprehensive.
Okay, so you finished this chapter. 3 individuals tied to the past. Antonina incarnate in the process of atonement, of reparation, being rather successful, as you can see how she's managing her life, how she's taking care of the children. And if you recall previous chapters, they have to do the gospel at home and they read the gospel together, and she seems to be truly moved in the right direction, not harboring any hate or ill sentiments towards the husband who abandoned her and left her with the small children, which shows that she's really making the effort to amend herself, and she's doing so rather successfully. Leonardo will continue the treatment. Remember, he's the only one discarnate that can be taken to special houses of assistance in the spiritual world, where he will continue his treatment, where he'll continue to receive everything that he needs. Then he is misspeaking, likely being to be prepared for a reincarnation himself, where he will restart his real atonement. Again, so most of our atonements or reparations done while incarnate with the physical body. But the process of repentance can very often happens in the spiritual world. And after repentance, reincarnation for atonement. That's usually the way it happens, not always. Okay. But very often that's the process. And then we have Steves. That is the top for next chapter. We just can realize here that he's still far from being able to forgive Leonard for what he has done. In the next chapter, they will follow Steves going back to his physical body, and we got to know a little bit more about him. Any questions, any comments? Again, it's incredible how this 2 chapters is nothing more than the practice of the theory that is in the Spirit's book on the part of the Spirit's book, Atonement and Repair. Starting question 993 for those who are interested. Next week we have the gospel. the second week of the month. If no comments, no questions, Carol, can you make the final prayer, please?
Yes, certainly. Thank you so much. Thank you, Elmo. And also thank you, Sarita, for reading today. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we give thanks that we are together again for our studies for the book Between Heaven and Earth, chapter 13 and 14. The spirit body maintains the physical body. Prayers and magnetic passes can bring positive vibrations and healings through intermediary actions of the perispirit, especially during rest time and sleep. All of our soul's experiences are recorded and preserved in a vast archive of images. Difficult encounters of the past can initiate a process of treatment for discarnates and incarnates to receive a new window of opportunity. The spiritual workers can then assist the suffering spirits to reconcile the past. Each must individually face the mistakes that have been committed. Understanding and love eventually will help to repair sorrows, guilt, and remorse. We give thanks today for the opportunity to be together, that we may receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us. May we humbly ask always to have safety and protection whenever we are in between times going to and from our offices, our homes, our work, all of our endeavors. We give thanks to the spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, the helpers, the healers. We give thanks to our our leaders, our mentors. We give thanks to the counselors. We give thanks to those who are with us, helping us each and every day. May we always prevail with goodness, peace, and harmony and love in our hearts. May we go forth now and receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us. May we always be of humility, kindness, endurance, peace within us, so that we may be of greater benefit to all those that we encounter. We give thanks for all the blessings we have received on all levels, mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional. And we give thanks for the opportunity within our center to have these great teachings, these lessons, and our studies, and that we are together as a community to go forth in goodness. May we always shine forth. May we always remind ourselves to be beacons of light. May we be of good heart, of good mind, and always keeping in mind that we are also helping this planet to evolve. May we be good stewards of the earth, and may we always bring charity number one in our hearts. Go forth now and go forth now in peace, love, charity, and service. So be it. Thank you.
Thanks,